What is up, everybody? How's it going? Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Again, sorry about the lighting. This is the best I can do with the setup I have. But today, I want to rant about the Switch 2. I'll try to keep it concise and try to keep it organized because I have a lot to talk about. But let's get started. If you haven't heard already, Nintendo announced the Switch 2, its price, the games, and just all about it. And they announced it last week. And I was reading through a bunch of the reviews about it, people's opinions, everything about it, and I was kind of interested and but very much displeased with what I saw. So let's talk about the first thing I noticed, and that is the Switch 2 performance and system itself. I noticed that the performance in terms of the hardware and specifics of the console itself is on par of a PS4, kind of like a PS5, but more like a PS4 graphics. It could do 1080p gaming easily, but not 4K. And I don't like the idea of that because it's more of like the fact that it can't run big games. The main goal and the main purpose I want for a handheld device is for it to run GTA 5 in 4K in really good quality. I'm not talking about perfect quality, but like I want to play at least 60 FPS in 4K. Now, I don't think the Switch 2 can ever do this, nor the Switch 1 or any handheld at this moment. I know there's a lot of handhelds that you can easily do 1080p in terms of like you can get 60 FPS if you do the right graphics on GTA, but handheld gaming isn't there yet. And I noticed that they launched and not launched, but they announced Elden Ring for the Switch 2. And I feel like it's just going to be like Hogwarts Legacy or any big game for the Switch. And what I mean by that is that they're going to have decreased quality in terms of graphics and performance compared to its console counterparts. And I think Elden Ring is going to be just like that. It's not going to look as beautiful as you have on a PC. Of course, not PC, but especially a console. And it's just going to have okay graphics and performance to run on the Switch 2 and to run in its portable handheld. Now, if it's docked, for sure, it's probably going to be bigger quality because you're going to have a bigger screen and stuff like that. But in terms of just the handheld itself, I don't think it can do that. And I think many of its games are going to be the same way in terms of their performance. But there's a lot to sacrifice within that small portable thing itself. So I'm very disappointed in what I saw in terms of hardware because it's not a huge leap in terms of the last gen to this gen, especially with the PS5 and especially with the PS6 coming out in 3 to 5 years, or even the next Xbox, which we don't know how Xbox is going to go. But it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen because the games are going to get bigger and better. And especially with GTA 5, I don't think it's going to run on the Switch 2. It's barely going to run at all. And so, especially with that hardware, GTA 6 is going to be a big game with many gigabytes. And if you're just going to run, I think they said 256 or something like that in terms of the storage capacity, that's pretty much going to be the whole game itself. If they're going to run it on the Switch 2. So, I'm very disappointed with the performance of this. Just because I thought it was going to be bigger and better, but it's kind of like even less than a Steam Deck. And so I'll talk about that later in terms of the other options I would have liked to buy instead of a Switch 2. But let's talk next about the price. I noticed that it was $450 by itself or $500 with Mario Kart. Now, I'm going to rant about the price later in this video, but let's talk about the game. And more specifically about the price of the bundle. And the price of the bundle is interesting because it's $500 and $50 with the game. And I think that's fair. I think that with the $450 of the price tag of the Switch 2 itself, I think that is fair for that PS4 quality and what you're getting for the performance. I think that's fine. I have nothing to rant about that. It's just perfectly acceptable. If people want to pay $500 with the game, go ahead. I don't really see a problem with that, and I think that's perfectly acceptable for Nintendo to do. So let's talk next about what I saw. And next is the Mario Kart game. I think it was well, I forgot what it was called. It was World Tour or something like that. And the one thing that I instantly noticed is that this was a free roam Mario Kart game, and I really liked the idea of this when they brought this to Pokemon and with Arceus. Now, Arceus kind of failed because it didn't really have much detail in the environments, so I'm getting notifications on my Mac at the same time. But I noticed that this was a free roam racing game and that you can go anywhere you want. Now, it might be like Arceus where they might not have the power in terms of detail in the environments you can go between, but it's kind of cool that you can go from location to location, location to location, and you go anywhere you want. Now, that's a cool idea. Now, I probably won't buy the game or the Switch 2 at all on launch, and it may be many, many years since I played a game, but I really thought that was a really cool idea itself. Now, again, I'll talk about the price later, but Mario Kart was a really cool addition of what I saw. The next feature I saw on the Switch was a voice chat, kind of like Discord in their own way. And I was really disappointed in this because I'm like, really? They finally added this? Like, it's about time. They should have added this 10 years ago, you know? And so it was really disappointing because it was a feature that should have belonged on the Switch the whole time, but they're finally bringing it to the Switch 2. Maybe I should take it easy on them because they probably didn't have enough hardware power on the regular Switch to run this. So, yeah, they're probably bringing it just because of more performance and it can run better on the Switch 2. Now, let's talk about the demo that they have. Now, this is a really cool demo that they showed off to show the qualities and what the Switch 2 can do. But the one drawback is that you have to pay for this demo. It's not free. Unlike PlayStation, where they offered Astro's Playroom, an amazing, amazing demo that's probably around 2 to 4 hours long, depending on how fast you go through it. And it's an amazing, amazing game that PlayStation offered. Now, that was free and pre-installed on the console itself, but now on the Switch 2, you have to pay for it? That's not right. I feel like this should be belonging to the Switch 2 for free because PlayStation did it, and it's showing Nintendo's hand that they're charging for this demo that should be free, especially if it's only like a small game. Yeah, that's not right. It should be free with the console itself because you're already paying like $500 for the system and the game itself, so you should already have access to this free demo as well. And that's not right to keep it behind a paywall because it would show the users what the Switch 2 is really capable of and show what everyone wants out of the Switch 2. But no, you have to pay for it. So with that, I don't think that it's right to lock that behind a paywall. And so that's the one thing that really makes me mad because PlayStation did it perfectly and Nintendo's showing their hand where you have to pay for it. The next thing I noticed is that upgrades for some games, not all games, but some games like Breath of the Wild, if you want the Switch 2 version, you have to pay for it. But also the updates. The updates are locked behind the subscription service. So basically, in order to get free updates for certain games on the Switch 2, you have to subscribe to their service and pay more money. And that's ridiculous because if someone is not a paid user, they're not going to get the latest and greatest updates, and their game might crash all the time. Who knows? And that's really, really frustrating because I feel like all updates should be free. Now, Windows is doing this where all Windows 10 users will not be able to get the latest updates, and they stopped this a long time ago, which kind of sucks, but on Nintendo, they're making you pay for upgrades and updates, and that's not right. And they're also making you pay for any sort of expansion passes or upgrades to the Switch 2. So if you want better graphics in terms of Breath of the Wild or any past games like Super Mario Odyssey, you have to pay probably about $10 or so to upgrade that to the Switch 2. And again, all this is on top of all the console you already paid for. And so you're paying for a demo, you're paying for the updates, you're paying for upgrades, and you're paying for the system. And I'm like, this is going to cost $700 at the end of the day. So it's not right to have all this locked behind the paywall, updates and especially upgrades. Now, upgrades are kind of interesting idea because PlayStation is doing the same thing with The Last of Us, where if you want the latest and greatest version, you probably have to pay about $10 if you own the previous game on the previous system. I mean, and so that's the thing I don't like about this is that they're making you pay for all this. Now, let's get into the meat of all this and why I hate Nintendo so much is that they're now charging $80 for these games. Now, there is a rumor that $90 for physical. This is unconfirmed at this moment, but there was a rumor about that. I'm not going to get too much into that since that is a rumor and that may be false. But $80 starting for these first-party games is crazy. And the main reason I don't like this and I hate this is that because Nintendo is now the next people to raise the prices in video games. When they get away with it, everyone can get away with it. And I'm talking about PlayStation and I'm talking about Xbox. If they see Nintendo doing this, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to charge $80, and we're going to be seeing new video games like the new Forza game or new Halo game, for example. I don't think they're going to make one. Or the next Uncharted or Ratchet and Clank at $80. And who knows? GTA 6 in the next year or two is going to be costing $100 because every single year they're going to go 80 to 90 to 100. And who knows? By 2028, we're going to be seeing $150 video games. And that's because these companies are raising the prices. Nintendo, I didn't mind PlayStation doing this so much because it was kind of a small jump, and we thought this would be the end of it. But no, Nintendo is now raising the price to $80. And they showed their hand because this is crazy in terms of what they're offering in terms of the games. But also I think $80 is a lot to pay for a video game. Especially, and this is my number 2 reason I don't like this at all, is that we're living in a recession. Everyone is really short on money. Jobs are really sparse. And you really have to choose your finances very, very carefully. And if you're paying $80 for a video game, you better make sure it lasts for a long time and it's good. But right now, people are not in the market to pay $80 for a video game. It's just not viable. And so it's not acceptable for Nintendo to charge $80, especially in this economy. Because especially if you're paying $500 for a game and all these accessories and updates and subscriptions, it's going to add up. And eventually a $500 console is going to cost $700 because you have to pay for all this other stuff. And so number 3 is that I just don't like the idea they're charging $80 because they never have sales. The lowest I've ever seen for a first-party Nintendo game in terms of their sales is $40. And that is for like Super Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8, and stuff like that where basically that's the lowest I've seen them digitally and physically. They haven't gone any lower. And they don't ever have sales, so $80 for the newest Mario Kart game is going to last for a very long time. It's not going to last a while it's going to last a lot while in terms of that price because they're never going to have a sale on it. And so $80 is ridiculous because people have to pay $80 for the newest video game, and especially in terms of Nintendo games, it better be a really good quality video game for years. If you're paying $80 for it, especially with the subscription service you're paying on top of that every year. And so it's just kind of ridiculous with this announcement and everything. Just because Nintendo is showing their hand of how greedy they are. You have to pay for the console, you have to pay for updates, you have to pay for a demo, you have to pay for the game, you have to pay for a microphone. You basically have to pay for everything now. And that's not right, especially in this economy. And so many people are saying if this is going to be the future in terms of $8 video games and how we're getting less quality, we should go to the past where we should embrace the past in terms of what we got. We had so many games and great games in the past, PS2, PS1, Sega Dreamcast, and Nintendo 64. All these past games are so much better than what we're getting today because we don't have to pay for all this. Yeah, you kind of have to pay for their old retro games, especially the GameCube ones and the Pokemon and all the GBA games on Nintendo side. But it's kind of crazy that you get more quality of those games than you do these games, at just half the price. Now, it could be the same price, who knows, depending on what you buy. But there's a lot of quality if you go to the pass and play. And I think it's really important to embrace the past because we're headed towards a future that's not economically viable. And so Nintendo showing their hand is not really smart at this moment. Now, the Switch 2 is probably still going to sell. Mario Kart's still going to sell. That's kind of the interesting part. But we're going to see, I want to see how well this goes in terms of Nintendo. Are they going to have the best quality product in terms of what they have to offer? Or is it just going to flop at first because no one wants to buy it? So for me, it's really hard to judge, but I want them to fail because they're showing their hand of how much money they need right now. And I think that, now, personally, I'm not going to buy this. I'm not a huge Nintendo, I'm not a huge Nintendo fan. I don't really play it that much. I play the Switch probably once a year, and I was probably to play Smash with friends or something like that, or maybe to update my Animal Crossing Village or something like that. But it's really rare that I boot up my Nintendo Switch because I only own like 7 games, and I don't really buy much. I think I have like Xenoblade, Animal Crossing, Mario Kart 8, Smash, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario All-Stars, Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, and a couple other games, but that's it. And Splatoon 3. But that's basically all I have. And it's kind of interesting because I gravitate more towards the PS5 and my PC more than I do my Switch. So it's not really in my best interest to buy a Switch 2 because I just never played the system in general. And I don't think it's a great upgrade. Now, in terms of alternatives, in terms of Switch 2, when I saw this price and the announcement, I really wanted to investigate other options in terms of a Switch. I'm talking about the Legion Go. I'm talking about ROG Ally. I'm talking about the Steam Deck. And I was kind of set on the ROG Ally X or the Extreme Z1. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get this. And then I investigated more and I'm like, no, I really want to wait because handheld gaming is it's getting at its peak right now. Everyone's invested into this and everyone's going to be making the next big handheld right now. And so it's in my best interest to wait on that because I want to play GTA, like I said, at its best quality. And if it's going to get better in terms of the performance and optimization of these handhelds, GTA is going to get better. All I have to do is wait. I don't care if the game is over 10 years old. The longer it gets, the better hardware we have, and therefore the better I can run this game. And that's why I'm kind of like waiting for the Steam Deck 2. I know it's like 3 to 7 years away, but I can't wait for that to release because it's going to be an amazing, powerful handheld in my hands. And I can't wait to actually play that. And so I was investigating other handhelds besides the Switch 2 just because I didn't want a Switch 2 or I wanted something else in terms of a handheld game. And I wanted to investigate that more. Luckily, I started to save my money and I wanted to see what they have in the future. So this is kind of like my big rant about the Switch 2 and when I thought of it all. Again, in summary, it just shows Nintendo how greedy they are. They showed their hand of how much money they want to make off this. And in terms of me as a physical gamer, it's not right that they're charging $80 for these video games because the physical market is going to die if they keep raising the prices of these video games. And it's just not right. And so I feel like it's better to embrace the past in terms of physical gaming, like the PS4 and stuff like that, with cheap, especially movies and stuff like that, because you truly own the game rather than just a physical or digital license where it can easily be taken away. And so if Nintendo continues to do this, do you truly own that Mario Kart game, or will it shut down when the servers shut down? So that's the thing to think about. And so that's kind of like my whole rant about this. Again, I won't be buying a Switch 2. It's up to you guys if you want it or not, but I don't ever play my Switch nowadays, so I won't be buying it. But this shows in terms of a company Nintendo is, how greedy they are and how much money they want to make off this. So that's kind of like my whole rant. In terms of other video games I've been playing, I played a lot of Overwatch yesterday. I think I played like 5 straight hours. In terms of, I wanted to get the achievement for 55 games of Normal Watch. If you never heard of Normal Watch, it's basically a funky April Fool's joke mode um, Blizzard created in Overwatch. I don't really like it because there's so many players like Wrecking Ball and Echo who just ruined the game for everyone. But I was just grinding it for 5 hours, just trying to complete a challenge to get a skin for Orisa. And I finally got that skin. I'm finally done and over with it. It wasn't the best experience, but I finally completed it. I just wanted to get it over with, and so I finally had that skin and all the sprays and the voice lines that came with the challenge. So it was really cool. I still need to get future skins in the shop in the future, which I saw during my playthrough. I did upload my best games to my YouTube channel. I think I had like 4 really good games. It was Junker Queen, McCree, Reinhardt, and I forgot the other one. But it was really, really cool playing through all those. The easiest way to combat Echo, by the way, is just to have McCree. You can easily eliminate Echo with 3 shots. So that's the thing that I did. But yeah, I finally got that over with. In terms of other stuff, I've been watching a little bit more Game of Thrones, playing more GTA as usual, trying to grind money in that. I have a pickups video that I will share with you guys very soon. I'm waiting for more games to come in, but I can't wait to share more media with you guys soon and to share what I've gotten. But this is my Nintendo Switch video. If you guys have any comments, disagree, agree with me, or just think I'm crazy, let me know. But otherwise, hopefully you guys have a great day. And with lots of love and respect to you guys, I will see you guys later, and peace out. Bye.